An 82-year-old man is dying in a California hospital. His lungs are failing, his body is shutting down, and his family is desperately trying to reach him, but they cannot get to his bedside. Hospital restrictions are keeping them away. So the man who spent his entire life fighting for others will take his final breath completely alone. His name is Tom Laughlin. He created Billy Jack, a character so iconic he became the symbol of an entire generation's fight for justice. His films pulled in nearly $200 million. He ran for president twice. He went to war with Hollywood studios and won. He was told he had inoperable cancer and somehow survived. And the woman beside him through every battle was Delores Taylor, his wife of 60 years, his co-star, his everything. But here is what nobody saw coming. Years after Tom died, alone in that hospital, dementia crept into Dolores's mind and erased everything. The films, the causes, the man she loved since 1954. Gone. Their ending was cruel, but their story is one you need to hear. Because Tom Laughlin did not just play a hero, he lived like one. And his journey from a troubled kid in Milwaukee to a maverick who made Hollywood fear him reveals exactly what it costs to stand up when the world tells you to sit down. Tom Laughlin came into the world on August 10th, 1931, in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. From an early age, he was different. While other kids played in the streets, Tom was writing plays. While his classmates focused on one thing, Tom excelled at everything. He was a standout football player at Washington High School, talented enough to earn a scholarship to the University of Wisconsin. But he was also deeply drawn to the stage, performing in drama productions and captivating everyone who watched him. This combination of physical toughness and artistic sensitivity would define his entire life. After transferring to Marquette University, Laughlin continued to shine on the football field as a safety and halfback. But something else was brewing inside him. One night, he saw a production of A Streetcar Named Desire, and everything changed. The power of that performance hit him like a revelation. He knew then that acting was not just something he enjoyed, it was something he needed to do. But Marquette had other plans for him. During his sophomore year, Laughlin got into a fight and was expelled from the university. It was the kind of setback that would have crushed most people. For Laughlin, it became a turning point. With football no longer an option, he threw himself fully into his true passion. He transferred to the University of South Dakota to study radio acting, directing, and producing. And it was there, in that unlikely place, that he met the woman who would change his life forever. Delores Taylor was born on September 27, 1932, in Winner, South Dakota. She grew up near an Indian reservation, an experience that shaped her worldview in ways that would become crucial later. She had dreams of becoming a graphic designer, but when she met Tom Laughlin at the University of South Dakota, those plans shifted. They bonded over their shared love of performance and storytelling. On October 15, 1954, they married. It was a partnership that would last 59 years. After completing his education, Laughlin set his sights on Hollywood. He arrived in the late 1950s with nothing but talent and ambition. And he quickly discovered that talent and ambition were not enough. The rejection was relentless. Laughlin auditioned constantly, landing only small parts in television series like Climax and minor roles in films like South Pacific and Gidget. These were forgettable characters in forgettable scenes. Nothing that showcased what he could really do. Hollywood was flooded with young actors who could play parts. What set Laughlin apart was his desire to create characters, not just perform them. But nobody was giving him that chance. For years, he struggled. The competitive nature of the industry meant that steady work was nearly impossible to find. Financial instability became a constant companion. Most actors in his position would have given up and gone home. Tom Laughlin was not most actors. In 1960, he took matters into his own hands. He wrote, directed, and starred in a film called The Young Sinner, an independent production about juvenile delinquency shot in Milwaukee over just 14 days. The film received mixed reviews, but it proved something important. Laughlin was not going to wait for Hollywood to give him permission. He was going to create his own opportunities. If the studios would not hand him leading roles, he would create them himself. This mindset, this stubborn refusal to accept the limits others placed on him, would define everything that came next. And that decision would eventually lead him to create something that changed American cinema forever. But the road to Billy Jack began in a place nobody would expect, a small town in South Dakota, where Tom witnessed something that would haunt him for years. The idea came from a place of pain. In 1954, while visiting Delores' hometown in South Dakota, Laughlin witnessed firsthand how Native Americans were treated, the discrimination, the injustice, the way people looked through them as if they did not exist. It angered him in a way he could not shake. He started writing. The character that emerged from his pen was Billy Jack, a half Navajo, half white, ex-Green Beret with a fierce sense of justice and the martial arts skills to back it up. Laughlin poured everything into that screenplay. His frustration with the system, his belief that one person could make a difference, his conviction that some fights were worth having, no matter the cost. But Hollywood did not want it. The studios rejected the script. Too political, too controversial, too risky. The character of Billy Jack sat in a drawer for over a decade. Then, in 1967, Laughlin found a way in. He made a low-budget biker film called The Born Losers. The story was simple. Billy Jack defends a group of young women from a violent motorcycle gang. The film was made for almost nothing. Nobody expected much from it, but audiences responded in a way no one anticipated. The Born Losers grossed over $12 million, far exceeding its tiny production costs. Suddenly, Hollywood was paying attention, but Laughlin was not interested in playing by their rules anymore. He followed up with Billy Jack in 1971, and this time, he went all in. The story unfolded in a small Arizona town, where Billy Jack becomes the protector of a group of pacifist hippies being tormented by the town's wealthy elite. The film tackled racism, police brutality, and the treatment of Native American children with an unflinching directness that mainstream cinema had never seen. But getting the film released was a battle in itself. American International Pictures initially agreed to distribute it, then backed out, demanding that Laughlin cut the political content and remove scenes of nudity. Laughlin refused. When the studio would not budge, he withheld the sound reels, essentially turning the film into a silent movie that could not be shown. It was a bold and risky move. Eventually, he struck a deal with Warner Brothers, but when he felt they were not marketing the film properly, he sued them and re-released the picture himself in 1973. The gamble paid off beyond anyone's expectations. Billy Jack became a cultural phenomenon, earning over $98 million worldwide. When adjusted for inflation, it remains one of the highest-grossing independent films of all time. The theme song, One Tin Soldier, became an anthem for the counterculture movement, reaching the top 40 on the Billboard Hot 100. Laughlin later claimed that the youth of America had only two heroes at the time, Ralph Nader and Billy Jack, and through it all, Delores was right there beside him. Her role had expanded from a pedestrian in The Born Losers to Jean Roberts, Billy Jack's love interest and moral compass. Her portrayal of Jean was groundbreaking, a strong, independent woman who stood for peace and justice in a world that seemed to reward neither. The performance earned her a Golden Globe nomination for Best Actress in a Drama. The Billy Jack franchise continued with The Trial of Billy Jack in 1974, which delved even deeper into Native American rights and social justice. Critics were harsh, But audiences did not care. The film grossed $89 million worldwide. The disconnect between what critics thought and what audiences wanted became a recurring theme in Laughlin's career. He was not making films for the establishment. He was making films for the people the establishment had forgotten. Tom and Delores Laughlin had proven something that Hollywood did not want to admit. You did not need the studio system to reach the American people. You just needed a story worth telling and the courage to tell it your way. But success came with its own challenges, and Tom Laughlin was never the type to rest on his accomplishments. The same fire that drove him to create Billy Jack would soon push him into arenas far beyond filmmaking, arenas where the stakes were even higher. Success did not satisfy Tom Laughlin. It fueled him. The man who had created Billy Jack was not content to simply make movies. He wanted to change the world, and he pursued that goal with the same stubborn determination that had defined his entire career. In 1977, he released Billy Jack Goes to Washington, an adaptation of the classic Frank Capra film that put his character in the United States Senate. The film explored political corruption and the difficulty of creating change within a broken system. But distribution problems plagued the release, and the movie failed to connect with audiences the way the earlier films had. The franchise was fading, but Laughlin's activism was just getting started. He ran for president of the United States in 1992. His platform focused on campaign finance reform, tax reform, and ending the war on drugs. He ran again in 2004, pushing the same issues. He never came close to winning, but that was never really the point. Laughlin understood something that many politicians did not. Sometimes the value of a campaign is not in winning, but in forcing conversations that nobody else is willing to have. Beyond politics, Laughlin and Delores had already made a significant impact on education. Back in 1959, they had founded a Montessori preschool in Santa Monica, California. Their approach to child-centered learning was ahead of its time. By 1964, the school had become the largest of its kind in the United States, earning a profile in Time magazine. Among their students was Christian Brando, son of Laughlin's friend Marlon Brando, but the school collapsed in 1965, going bankrupt despite its success. It was a pattern that would repeat throughout Laughlin's life. Visionary ideas meeting the harsh reality of finances. His activism extended into Hollywood itself. In 1984, Laughlin took out a series of 12 advertisements in Variety magazine, publicly condemning the film industry for its treatment of independent filmmakers. He called out the studios for their commercialism and their stranglehold on distribution. He proposed a blueprint for independent filmmakers to take control of home video distribution and bypass the studio system entirely. The plan failed, but once again, Laughlin had been ahead of his time. The strategies he outlined would eventually become standard practice in the age of streaming and digital distribution. Throughout all of this, the Laughlin family remained close. Tom and Delores had 3 children: Frank, Teresa, and Christina. Frank followed his parents into the entertainment industry, while Teresa and Christina carried forward their values of compassion and social justice. Despite the demands of his career and the constant battles he fought on multiple fronts, Laughlin prioritized his family and instilled in his children the same sense of creativity and integrity that had guided his own life. The Laughlin household was a place where artistic expression and social consciousness were encouraged, where standing up for what you believed in was not optional, it was expected. But behind the public image of a fearless maverick, there were struggles that the public never saw, battles that Tom fought alone, and demons that would eventually catch up with him. Tom Laughlin battled bipolar disorder throughout his life. The condition caused extreme mood swings, periods of intense energy and creativity, followed by deep lows. It affected his relationships, his work, and his overall well-being. Managing a career as an independent filmmaker meant carrying enormous financial responsibilities, and the stress only made things harder. In 1985, Laughlin began production on a fifth Billy Jack film called The Return of Billy Jack. The story would feature the character fighting child pornographers in New York City. Production was underway when disaster struck. Laughlin suffered a concussion and a serious neck injury during filming. Production was suspended while he recovered. During the hiatus, funding ran out. The film was never completed. For the next 2 decades, Laughlin tried desperately to revive the project. In 1996, he spoke publicly about seeking funding to finish the film. By 2008, the title had changed to Billy Jack for President, with plans for a new kind of film that would incorporate archived speeches and computer manipulation to create a debate between Billy Jack and President George W. Bush. None of it ever materialized. In 2001, Laughlin received devastating news. He had been diagnosed with cancer of the tongue. The cancer was inoperable. His website later claimed that the disease had gone into remission, but his health continued to decline in the years that followed. The man who had portrayed an invincible hero was becoming increasingly fragile. The fortune from the Billy Jack films had long since disappeared. Legal battles, failed projects, and mounting medical bills had taken their toll. The financial instability that had haunted Laughlin since his early days in Hollywood never really went away. Independence had given him creative freedom, but it had also left him without the safety net that studio backing might have provided. As the years passed, Laughlin's dream of one more Billy Jack film grew more distant. The funding never came. The health problems never went away. The industry that had once feared him now seemed to have forgotten him entirely, but he never stopped believing it could happen. He never stopped fighting. That was who Tom Laughlin was, a fighter until the very end. But even fighters eventually run out of time. In his final years, Tom Laughlin developed serious respiratory problems. His lungs, weakened by age and illness, struggled to keep up. On December 12, 2013, he was admitted to Los Robles Hospital and Medical Center in Thousand Oaks, California. The diagnosis was complications from pneumonia. His condition worsened rapidly. Medical staff placed him on life support as his body began to fail. His family rushed to be with him, but hospital restrictions prevented them from being at his bedside during his final hours. The man who had spent his life fighting for justice and connection was denied both at the end. When he was taken off life support, Tom Laughlin died alone. He was 82 years old. His daughter later described him as a true American maverick. It was a fitting tribute for a man who had never once done things the easy way. Delores Taylor survived her husband by nearly 5 years, but those years were marked by a different kind of tragedy. Dementia began to steal her memories, the lines she had delivered so perfectly, the films she had helped create, the man she had loved for nearly 6 decades. The disease that claimed her mind also claimed her memories of Tom. On March 23, 2018, Delores Taylor passed away at the age of 85. Together, Tom and Delores left behind 3 children and a library of films that challenged audiences to think differently about justice, equality, and the courage it takes to stand up for what is right. The Billy Jack films were not perfect. Critics found plenty to complain about, but audiences understood something that the critics missed. These films spoke to people who felt unseen and unheard. They gave voice to the voiceless. Tom Laughlin did not just create a character, he created a movement. He gave voice to the voiceless and showed that one person with enough conviction could challenge systems that seemed untouchable. And alongside him, every step of the way, was Delores Taylor, his partner in every sense of the word. She was not just his wife. She was his collaborator, his conscience, and his greatest supporter. Their ending was not the happy one they deserved. Hospital restrictions, dementia, loneliness at the end, the cruelty of time taking away everything they had built together. But their story, the story of two people from the Midwest who challenged Hollywood, challenged America, and never stopped fighting for what they believed in, that story endures. It cannot be taken away. And maybe that is the real legacy of Tom and Delores Laughlin. Not the money they made, or the awards they won, or even the films that changed a generation. Maybe it is simply the reminder that ordinary people can do extraordinary things when they refuse to back down, when they choose to fight even when the odds are against them, when they love each other through decades of triumph and tragedy and everything in between. Are you a fan of Tom Laughlin and the Billy Jack films? Do you think any actor today has the creativity and courage to create their own iconic character the way he did? Let us know in the comments. And if this story moved you, make sure you are subscribed so you do not miss what is coming next.